Dumb. Cool.
Weird.
Podcast. And where are you from?
I'm from Connecticut, but I live in Brooklyn in the city now.
Oh, okay.
It's awesome.
So, no, that's cool. I went to Brooklyn a couple years ago.
Nice.
It's like a couple years ago. We're talking like 8-9 years ago at this point. So it was like almost a decade ago. So
Just a couple.
Yeah. Well, it feels like a couple, man. Dude, when people ask me about being 21 or 22, that feels like that was yesterday for me sometimes. So.
Oh yeah, for me too.
So it kind of freaks me out, like, because I still have really good memories of being in high school, and like I could wake up and it could be that time again. But when you think about it, it's like, damn, that was like 15 years ago now. You know?
I think I'd be miserable if
Yeah.
I had to go back to high school. like if your mind went back in time and went to your younger body.
Oh yeah, you'd be too mature for those people. You know? Like, you'd literally be sitting there drinking a beer in the middle of class and they'd be like, what are you doing? You're a kid. It's like, I have to drink a beer to get through this fucking shit.
Oh my God, can you
Guys,
just?
I'm over this.
It's like, oh my God, can we just shut up,
Yeah, it's too much.
Mr. Walker? Who do you think you are, drinking a 6-pack of tall boys in my class?
It's like, if you heard you talk?
Dude, you're boring. Can we Zoom the lecture? We don't have those capabilities yet. You will in the future.
It's like, what? No, but one good thing, though, is I would probably not worry about school as much, and I'd be, like, figuring out what I can invest in because I would have knowledge of the future. Bitcoin would be one of the things I'd be thinking about, you know?
GameStop.
Yeah,
Just
GameStop.
get in while those stocks are $2.
Yeah,
GameStop?
get them cheap.
GameStop and AMC would be the tits. That's like,
Dude, I bought AMC when it was $2, and people thought I was crazy. Like, I told one of my buddies, I was like, hey, I'm going to buy, like, a bunch of AMC stocks. They're really cheap right now. And he's like, why would you do that? That company's failing. I was like, nah, they're going to be back on top one day. It was the best thing I ever did. I bought, like, 40 stocks, and then I sold them when they hit, like, $15 a share. So,
Nice.
So
Yeah,
they're
I got into that. I think I got like a Robinhood like a few months before COVID, just because I was trying to be an adult and think of like investments and all of that. And around right when the pandemic was starting and everything was, and all the stocks are going on sale, they're all on half off or whatever. I bought a bunch of like airlines and stuff like that because the prices just kept going down, and now they're like, I still haven't sold them because they haven't fully recovered yet, but.
yeah, it makes sense.
Hopefully.
you know what? I'm now trying to wonder is like, because one of my buddies had stock in the NRA. I heard they went bankrupt.
Might have.
I was like, what? How much of a hit can you take from that? I wonder if something actually does go bankrupt.
I made a lot of money off Dogecoin.
You sold, I'm guessing, right before it really crashed.
I sold when it was like close to 80 cents, so I made really good money.
Okay.
So my buddy didn't want to sell. He was like, me and him were there the same night when it hit 80 cents, close to 80 cents. He was like, oh, I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to wait. And I was like, I'm getting rid of it. I feel like this is going to be the peak. And then sure enough, I made the right choice. So
Yeah.
yeah, I bought it in like $800 worth back when it was really cheap. And then I ended up making like $6 or $7 grand, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was a good investment.
Imagine doing the Marty McFly thing and just start placing sports bets.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do. I mean, I would invest in stuff like Amazon, Netflix, because I mean, even though it was they were entities then, they weren't really like big then when I was in high school. You know,
Yeah.
I would sit down and figure it out because, like, especially Bitcoin. Bitcoin would be the one that would make you the most money.
Yeah.
But are you able to record? If not, it's fine. We'll just use the audio. We can put a picture.
I don't see anywhere where I can record it from my end, I think, because I'm not hosting the meeting.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, that just says whiteboarding. Yeah, it's just giving me controls of like my end.
Trying to see if I can promote you to leader. Let's see. It's not like Xbox Live. Let's see.
Xbox Live would be a pretty awesome way to do things.
Well, on Xbox Live, you can promote someone to party leader pretty easily. Let's see, here we go. Host controls. All right.
Let's try recording through OnlyFans at some point.
Oh my god.
I think that would be funny. Yeah, we started an OnlyFans. Nothing sexual.
Let's see.
That's what Patreon's for.
Yeah. Unfortunately, if we take our shirts off and we don't even have to look good. We could probably just take our shirts off and people will pay us.
Doesn't give me an option to like promote you to the person controlling it, like the host. I don't know why it won't give me that.
I think we'll just do an audio only then.
That's fine. What we'll do is we'll use. We had this same issue last week because like I said with this, if some people prefer to use Google Meet, because it's probably easier. And in the future, what we could do is I guess we could let other people host. I guess.
I think that would work better.
So we could do that. But what we'll do is if you give us like a really nice headshot, we'll put your headshot like in the video while we're talking. So
Sure.
So it just you're there and people can see who you are and all that. So that's kind of how we did it last week. So, but we're gonna try to have like a better solution for this in the future. We're just very limited at the moment. So
Unless we just go through
Yeah,
Skype.
I do all of my stuff through. Yeah, I do all of mine over Zoom.
okay,
Do it that way.
okay,
And there's other sites. There's like Riverside. This other podcast that I co-host. They use Riverside, and slightly better quality than Zoom, but it's a little bit more.
that's the second time somebody's recommended Riverside.
Yeah,
We're actually gonna look into Riverside tonight, see if it's a good option for us.
that
So
might be the best option.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just know that for that, definitely like the less people on the call, the better.
Mhm.
Because if there's like more than 4 or 5, audio starts to get laggy.
Oh, okay.
But if it's like 2 or 3, then you're good.
I think the most it would be is like someone like a guest like you and then us two. I think that would be all it would really ever be.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, all right.
Gotcha.
Well, cool. So, welcome to the podcast. This is the Dumb Cool Weird podcast. And today we have Juan. And how do you say your last name, Juan?
Ayala.
Ayala. Okay. Just want to make sure. Didn't want to butcher that. And so, Juan is an actor up in New York. And that's actually what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about acting. And I know New York acting is very different than like LA or Atlanta acting in terms of like, what you guys have access to. I know there's a lot more like SNL type stuff, like basically Broadway shows, just like I know there's a lot of theater acting up there. I've talked to a lot of people that move up there for theater, but I know our viewers would enjoy like hearing about the acting experience because, here in Atlanta, most of the people that are down here are trying to be film actors because the film industry is here in Georgia, like hardcore. I mean, they've pretty much built like billions of dollars worth of studios over here where we live. So it'd be really cool to talk about, I think. So, talk about your whole experience, like where you came from to where you are now and like how many what kind of credits you have going on, like basically what kind of like if you've worked on TV shows or if you've worked on mainly just theater, if you've actually done movies too. I think that'd be really cool to talk about. So, kind of navigating that.
Yeah. So, definitely got my start sort of first for a love of music. I grew up in a pretty religious family. And being in a Hispanic family that's religious, your church is going to have some banging music. Even though church music sounds lame, it's all Latin music. So it sounds really cool. So grew up with a love for music, and that eventually led to like doing musical theater. And once I was sort of applying for colleges, I was like, criminal justice or theater? What am I going to major in college? And I sort of just took the dive into theater and figured I'll play a lawyer in something someday. So went that route instead. And I went to a small college in Connecticut called Housatonic Community College and got my degree. And then I was doing lots of theater in Connecticut. And because we're so close to New York, there is a pretty bustling theater market in Connecticut because they can easily just bring in, all the New York actors on the train to do like, professional actors to do the shows and whatnot. And yeah, so I after doing theater for several years, this one theater company that I was really involved with had to close their doors, unfortunately. So I was like, okay, like what next? Like, what do I do? Because I also worked for that theater company. So I also that was like my job in addition to doing their shows. So I was just kind of at a loss and did not know what to do. And then there was a Facebook ad I saw for a Hallmark Channel Christmas movie. Obviously, they have like 50 of those a year, but they were filming one of them with Melissa Joan Hart and Dean Cain, so Sabrina and Superman, all the 90s kids grew up with, and they were doing this Hallmark Channel movie, and they're looking for extras. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I've never worked as an extra. I've never worked on a film set or anything. And this was back in like 2016, so this was several years ago. And a bunch of the folks who were working as extras had come down from New York because it was so close, and they were paying better rates than New York was at the time. They were paying in cash at the end of the day instead of like waiting weeks for a check. So people were kind of prioritizing this one gig, and they were all just very kind. And I was asking a bunch of questions like, so like, you guys came from New York, like you guys like do this for a living? You guys are extras for a living? And they're like, yeah, we work on 2 to 4 shows a week. Law and Order needs extras, The Blacklist, all these shows that film in the city. They need extras to fill out all the scenes, whether you're like a pedestrian or you're in the courtroom or whatever. And they just sort of pointed me in the direction of like, sign up at this website, visit this website, and sign up there. And the whole TV side of my career kind of just started on that side, or at that time, because I otherwise didn't know anything. I only knew theater. I sort of had that conception of New York is Broadway, LA, Hollywood is film and TV, but that's a huge misconception. There's a ton of stuff that films in the city. We do have the most theater, but there's also plenty of TV and film that shoots here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know they do a lot of stuff up there. I heard that like that New York is really known for its theater scene. Like it's huge. And I know a lot of people move up there because a lot of comedians are trying to get into SNL. I heard that's like a big thing too. People trying to get like some kind of audition with SNL or trying to get on SNL. It's sort of like a launching pad for their career.
Heard it's bad. It was
Yeah,
better
for
in the
sure.
past.
It used to be easier to get into SNL back in the day when you could sort of just be in the stand-up comedy scene or the sketch comedy scene. There's different sort of companies that a lot of people came up in, like the Groundlings, Second City. That's where like the producers of SNL would go and sort of watch the shows and scout talent. But now that streaming is a thing and social media and all of that, people get discovered in different ways now, so it's a little harder.
Yeah.
Similarly, it's a little harder to become an actor sort of in general, because if you have like a pretty cool following, you'll get considered for stuff. I mean, they rarely get the job because they're not actors. They don't have like, if you give them 3 scenes to learn by tomorrow, which is usually how quickly they need these auditions, they have no process or training on how to memorize lines, so they end up bombing. So,
that makes sense. I'm a director. That's what I do for a living. I direct marketing videos. I also own my own production company, and I do a lot of work. And the biggest thing I look for in actors is I make sure that they're able to remember all the dialogue. That's really important to me. I'm also a lot more open than some directors when it comes to doing improv. Because I think that improv, when you shoot a movie, can sometimes produce really cool scenes that you wouldn't otherwise have. Some of the biggest movies in the world, some of those really iconic like scenes, some of them were improv. And I think you kind of limit yourself when you do that. And another thing I do as a director is I make sure that the person I'm looking for is right for the role, because a lot of amateur like directors, especially in my town over here in Atlanta, will just pick people because they're friends or something. I'd rather get somebody for the job because they're a fit. You have to, as a director, you have to really know if someone's a fit for this role, and you really gotta visualize it. And that's what I mean. Like, a lot of people are amateurs in that way because they're trying to give their friend or somebody like a push. But I don't think you should do it like that, because you end up really screwing yourself over.
Well, they usually say don't go into business with your friends, and movie business is pretty cutthroat. So if you bring your friends up, you can try to bring your friends up with you, but I can imagine it being trouble.
It just depends. I mean, if we're talking like Adam Sandler, Adam Sandler brought all of his buddies in, but those buddies aren't in starring roles. They're just little like background characters,
Exactly.
So and they don't really have a ton of acting chops. A lot of them, they're just there for fun, you know, because they got those zangy little one-liners that they throw out there, you know.
Right.
It's like
and that's usually what sort of gets the ball rolling for a lot of them.
Yeah.
Is sort of getting those first couple credits, and then an agent or a manager or a casting director will see like, oh, well, they've done a couple major films. That's awesome, and then sort of trust that they have, you know, training and whatnot. And
what about you? What's the biggest thing you worked on?
Biggest thing I worked on a show called Blindspot. It was an NBC show. I did 4 episodes of that show toward the end of its run.
And are you SAG?
I am now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole process. You kind of have to be in New York if you want to get in the door. I know with Georgia, you guys are a right to work state, so you don't have to be union.
No, but a lot of them will do it so they can get a lot of the extra benefits that come with it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I don't miss being a non-union actor on union sets. Yeah. But that show starred Jamie Alexander, who you might know from like Kyle XY and Thor.
Yeah.
She was Lady Sif in the Thor movies, and Sullivan Stapleton is like this huge Australian TV star, and Ashley Johnson, who's known for her like voiceover work. She was the lead in The Last of Us and a bunch of other stuff. But it was a really cool show. It was sort of like this FBI thriller. This one character, Jamie Alexander's character, wakes up in Times Square in like a duffel bag with no memory of anything. She's covered like head to toe in tattoos, and each one of them is like a clue to some kind of terrorist plot or something.
Interesting.
Very 2015 for when it came out. Like I feel like every show tried to be that back then.
These crime shows are really popping off back in 2015.
Yeah, they're hard to replicate now. I feel like they're kind of sadly they're like a dead genre. Like you've got Law and Order, that whole franchise, and the FBI franchise, and that's about it.
Yeah, I remember that one show, The Following. I remember that fucking show too with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
And I think they got started in like 2012, and then it ended in 2015 or something like that.
Oh
yeah.
So
it's interesting seeing how much the industry changes of sort of what's popular and whatnot. Like sort of like every 5 to 10 years, like, you know, like sitcoms were a huge thing. Like, you know, when we were all growing up, like, you know, in like the 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
The laugh track, Young Ensemble, Friends, you know.
Married with Children, stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, Will and Grace. Like sort of if you were in your late 20s and a young actor, like you were very high in demand back then. That's not really the case anymore.
No, it's definitely changed a good bit. I know, man, working here in Atlanta, that's 50-50. It's either superhero movies or
Tyler Perry,
and then the other one you throw in there for just extra shits and giggles is the horror stuff, basically. That's basically what gets shot down here. And then also Swamp Murders, the Investigation Discovery Channel. We do a lot of that shit down here too.
Yeah.
And then we had The Walking Dead, but The Walking Dead just went off the air, so it's not here anymore. Yeah. So.
But and the CW does some stuff down there too, right?
But that's more superhero shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so sick of... I tell people all the time, I'm so sick of superheroes, man. I don't... Somebody's like, hey, you want to go see, like, the new Spider-Man, 55? I'm like, no, dude, I don't.
That was actually pretty good, but I get completely because it's like, I'm tired of all the Adventure
I'm sorry,
movies.
But having Tobey Maguire in there is not going to make me want to see it, even though that's my Spider-Man. I still don't want to see it. I don't. There's a reason why I quit watching superhero movies. I quit watching superhero movies like years ago. Like probably, I think it was like 2016 is when I stopped completely. Like, I just, unless it's something I'm really interested in. Like I heard they were releasing a new Spawn movie. That sounds cool.
Heard Jamie Foxx is going to be in that one this time though.
Yeah, that sounds cool. But other than that, I'm not really that jazzed about like superhero movies anymore.
Well, Spawn's like a dark movie, so I can understand why you'd want to go and see it. Like, it's not your run-of-the-mill superhero movie where there's good and evil. This is an anti-hero. It's not like that. But Juan,
what I'm trying to tell you is there's a lot of superhero shit down here. That is what they shoot half the time. Like, it's just all they do. Like, Pinewood Studios is literally 30 minutes from here, from where we're at. And that's where they do all the Marvel movies. Like most of Endgame was shot here.
Yeah.
And so is the first one too.
Yeah, I'm a huge comic book movie nerd, so yeah, I definitely follow all of that stuff just to sort of stay in the zeitgeist. I don't think most of them are not amazing films. Some of them are just fun, and I take it for what it is, sort of at face value.
Yeah.
But then there are others that's just like, what were they trying to do? And it just like, this is $100 million down the drain, like just like a garbage
but
movie
then,
for the sake of trying to keep like the rights to the characters.
Yeah.
Some of these studios like will just try and do that, and
Oh god.
yeah, it's just
Godzilla versus King Kong was a waste. I'm so glad I didn't see that in theaters, and it was painful to finish while watching it on HBO Max.
Oh wow. I mean, this new Batman movie they just released, like this is literally like the sixth Batman, I think, incarnation of Batman that we've seen on TV or movies. You know, like we literally just had Ben Affleck Batman. Now we have a new Batman. Like that's crazy to me.
They didn't even give him like a standalone film. They're like, Ben Affleck, you're not good enough to be in like your own film.
Yeah.
Here, you have to hang out with everybody else who's more relevant.
It's true.
I mean, everybody
Well, he was supposed to. He was supposed.
okay.
So
yeah.
So the movie.
That movie was in development hell forever.
Yeah, it was called. It was actually gonna be. So the movie that Pattinson was in was actually gonna be the movie that Ben was gonna be in.
Okay.
And it just didn't happen that way. Because Ben doesn't want to do it anymore, I think, is part of the reason. But also, there's been some backlash, too, at the studio with him, with certain things. But, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, like, I haven't seen the new Batman, and I probably am never going to see it. And the funny thing is,
I thought it was terrific.
Yeah, well, it may be terrific. I'm just really burnt out on superhero movies.
I feel it.
You know, it was a lot more disappointing than I thought it was going to be.
What?
Mortal Kombat. Like the first 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes of the movie was great. But, sorry. But it was the rest of the movie that was bad.
Yeah.
Like if they brought the same energy they brought in for the first like part of the movie, like the intro, I think it would have kicked off a little bit better. But it just felt like it was too rushed and too forced.
I got to give the production designer a lot of credit, though. It looks pretty fucking good.
They did a great job.
It looks just like the video games. They actually did a really good job with this one. I mean, we all remember the 90s ones, you know, the
classics.
The classics. So
a lot of movie magic.
Those are a trip.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's cool. So that's one of the biggest things you worked on was that TV show and NBC.
Yeah, for sure. There's another show I worked on. It was like the first job and so far the only job I booked during the pandemic. It was one of the first shows that started back up after COVID. They wrote COVID into the show to try and make production easier. It's called For Life.
Yeah.
It only ran for 2 seasons on ABC, but it was a legal drama, and I had like a 1 episode role on it as like a reporter, and it was a cool experience because just seeing how sets were working with COVID sort of in place and everything. It was January 2021, so like we weren't even a year into this yet. So they had just sort of started rolling out vaccinations and all of that. So had to get tested a bunch before you can even go to set. And and yeah, it was a trip. It was weird because the show I worked on a few months before the pandemic was the series finale for Blindspot, and it was just so like 2 completely different worlds. Going from this like action set, this one of the final scenes I worked on was like this huge shootout, you know, a dozen stunt performers. We've got fake guns on set. There's like squibs blowing up everywhere to make things look, you know, sparks flying, and going from that to then this like smaller set, no extras on set because they're just trying to avoid having people sort of possibly get others sick was just weird and a very interesting experience.
Yeah, I had a buddy. He actually quit working in the film industry because of the COVID mandates. Because the one set he was working on, they were too intense. They were so grueling that like a lot of people didn't even want to do it anymore because of how like hardcore they were being with some people. Like this guy had like his vaccine, you know, and he wore the mask like he was supposed to. But like if they did anything out of the ordinary, they would like go over there and like bust their ass all the time. And he just got tired of it. And he told them to go fuck themselves and basically like left and quit working on movies and started working in regular construction again because he was doing construction on sets. And he said it wasn't worth it to him anymore. So he kind of just walked away from it because of the crazy COVID mandates. And even to this day, my buddy told me that they still have a COVID compliance officer on a lot of these sets, even in Atlanta. But the thing is, like most places you go to now in Atlanta, they don't really enforce the mask thing as much anymore. You know, everything's kind of lax now because most people around here have gotten like the vaccine. Hell, I've even had a booster shot. So, you know, and if I go somewhere, nobody even mentions it anymore. The last time someone mentioned about seeing my like vaccination card was like when I was trying to go to we had a film festival here recently, and as I was walking in the door, the lady goes, "Excuse me," and like puts her hand on my chest, and I'm like, "Well, get your hand off my fucking chest." I was like, what do you want? Right. And she was like, "I need to see your vaccination card." I was like, "I don't have that on me anymore." I was like, "You're the first person that's literally asked me about this in like 7 or 8 months." And she goes, "Well, I can't let you in." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And I just like pulled it up. I'm like, "Look, here it is." And then they let me in. And she goes, "You better have it next time." I was like, "How about you go fuck off?" Like
very aggressive. Very aggressive.
Yeah, she was very aggressive with me, and I just didn't appreciate that, you know, because like But that's just how it is. Like it's very like, you know, in the film industry, it's still pretty. People take themselves way too serious. I mean, COVID's serious. Like it can hurt people, but as long as everybody's taking the right precautions, I think everything's okay. You know, especially with me. Like I said, I got the vaccine and I got a booster shot. You know, I probably didn't even need a booster shot. I just did it anyway. You know.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting that, you know, she's enforcing this contagious disease protection, but she's touching you. Like,
right?
You're close enough to touch the guy. Maybe you should worry about that first.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
man, it's interesting seeing how, you know, I got both doses of the vaccine. I got the booster, because I grew up with asthma, and when I got bronchitis in college, it like almost wiped me out. So I'm like, let me not risk anything. I lost 2 grandparents during the pandemic as well. So it's just like, you know, all the stuff around. I'm just like, let me just protect myself. And I worked at a gym for a long time, for the pretty much up until last fall, and then I started working from home for like my journalism stuff and podcasting and all that. But when I was working at the gym, it's like, you know, I'm interacting with up to 500 people a day.
Yeah.
Because it's in a busy part of Brooklyn. So I'm like, you know, you're wearing a mask for 9 hours. So like I have eczema as well. So my face was like breaking out, and just, it was so exhausting. Like,
I bet it was.
Sort of being stuck in that. And
with it constantly rubbing against your face, I bet.
Yeah.
But that was pretty rough.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I'm glad I'm out of there.
That's why I stopped doing a beard.
Yeah.
It was getting like it was like getting too much. Like I just hate the way it rubs against your face. And
I feel you.
I mean, yeah, it's just. I mean, I just opted to not go outside during that time period. I was social distancing before it was cool.
My dad said that too. He's been social distancing for like a decade now. He just doesn't like to go around people too much. I'm like, oh, well, that's fair.
Got the news. He's like, don't go near people. Okay.
All right. Don't twist my arm now.
Oh man, really making this hard for me. What else are you gonna do? Tell me to wash my hands? Oh, I do. I gotta do that too now. Dang.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you're still able to make a living during the pandemic, because I know a lot of people that were really struggling during the pandemic. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was laid off from my job. For, you know, I worked at the gym before COVID, and I think it was like a Friday, I was working on a set. Have you guys heard of the show Inventing Anna on Netflix?
I have heard of it.
I've heard that
name. There's kind of a lot of buzz around it. It was about Anna Delvey, who's based on this true story, but that's the last show I worked on before the pandemic. It was me and like 30 other people were extras in their office set, and it took place a lot in the news office. So it was kind of the same people.
Yeah.
And then there were like rumblings of COVID, like, oh, have you heard of this thing that like broke out in China? And then first cases were detected in the US. People were like, oh, that's weird. First cases in New York. We're like, okay, this is getting a little scary. And then that Friday, they closed every single Broadway show. They're like, because it's spreading really quickly. And we were all kind of freaking out on set. We're like, are we coming back on Monday? Because we were booked to work like 10 days straight on that show.
Yeah.
So we're like, are we coming back? What's going on? And then like after the lunch break, they were like, okay, guys, it was a Shonda Rhimes show. She's like, Sean just called. They're shutting down production. You know, everyone will get contacted by by whoever booked you, and they'll talk about, you know, what they're going to do for the days we were already booked and set aside. And yeah, it was very strange. And then like after that weekend is when they shut down gyms. So then the gyms were forced to close, and I was basically out of work and surviving on unemployment until they reopened in September. So it was about 5-6 months of just nothing and going crazy. Not even auditioning. So I didn't even have auditions to keep me busy because nothing was filming.
Yeah.
So I think I had like 1 or 2 commercial auditions like in like July when some things are opening back up, and they were like smaller type of commercials. Or but yeah, other than that, man, I was just doing like readings of scripts over Zoom with friends like once a week, and doing classes over Zoom, and just trying to like do as much as I can while I was not able to work otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't want to just straight up like quit acting until someone said it's okay to do it, you know?
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, shoot, everybody was losing their jobs. It was crazy, though, when they closed down all the gyms and they kept all the liquor stores open.
Because I think that's what prevented people from rioting.
Oh, yeah.
Take away
like, prohibition? Screw that.
Yeah, you take away the alcohol, dude.
You can't. I heard if you drink beer, it kills the COVID.
Like, but people would actually they'd be like, "I'll just use vodka. That's like alcohol, right?" I'm like, it's a different type of alcohol, but sure. Do whatever makes you feel safe.
I'm definitely healthy in here. All right, I've had about 5 cups of vodka. Nothing can hurt me now.
Sanitized.
Yeah, I worked the whole time during the pandemic. My office was completely empty. I was the only guy there. I had to be there because I had a studio there where I was shooting my marketing videos, and sometimes I'd walk out, I'd be completely dead. There were some days I kind of just laid back in my chair and took a little nap. Didn't even know that, just kind of forgot about shit.
Someone pops up on the intercom. Hey, what the fuck do you think you're doing, Wes? You're like, oh God, I could see you. I've rigged all the security cameras.
It's like, oh, did I do something wrong? And they're like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. Can you bring me a beer?
I'm bored up here. Why don't you just come out and say hi? I'm social distancing.
Yeah, that's not happening, champ. Not coming down there.
Away from the doorway, respectfully.
Go get me about 6 tall boys, and we'll forget about that nap.
Yeah, put it at the door. Actually, the CEO would be in there sometimes, and he would just show up, and he'd be like, "Wes, where you at?" I'd be like, I'm in my cubicle working, and he's like, "Cool, I'm gonna steal some candy." He would steal candy from my coworker's desk because she was definitely not there. Most people didn't. People. Honestly, there was never anybody there for like a 6-month period. Honestly, the whole time I was there, I thought about shooting a movie. Like I thought about shooting like a horror thriller because it was so empty. I was like, man, I could shoot like a thriller right now where this guy's like in his office like doing something. I could have gotten one of my friends to do it.
Man, you could have just hired me.
And then he finds out someone rigged to the cameras.
Yeah,
there you go. There's your idea.
Yeah, somebody rigged the cameras. Yeah.
Somebody was actually filming you the whole time, making their own movie.
Yeah. It's meta, dude.
It's like a documentary about the working man. It's a silent film.
So where'd you go to school?
For college, I went to Housatonic Community College in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Okay.
And I majored in the theater program there.
Okay.
And it was down the street from like 2 pretty popular theater venues, so I could literally just like walk to rehearsals and stuff after class. It's pretty dope.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we went to this school called University of North Georgia, and they had a really big theater program. They had a partnership with one of the biggest theater programs in Georgia called Burnell. They're like really big here in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like what they call them, the Georgia Theater Alliance.
I think it was that, yeah.
Yeah, they that's where we would pull a lot of our when I was in film school. That's kind of where we'd pull a lot of our actors from the Theater Alliance because we had like a working relationship with them. So it was pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure the theater department even grew more over the years because they got rid of linear tech, so they just opened it up.
Yeah, I know it got bigger. It's pretty crazy.
I'll tell you what though is like that whole area once they like finished construction and everything.
Yeah.
It's like a completely different world on that side of the campus.
I bet.
It looks so modern, and we're just kind of left with like the old buildings of when it was Gainesville State College.
Yeah, when it was a smaller college. Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, yeah. So I've taken a few theater classes, so I kind of know the bit of the stuff that you guys go through and the whole process. So it was definitely cool being one of those classes. Like we had a, when you're early on in college, you have to take like something called like an appreciation class, like art or music. I picked theater appreciation because that was fun. The our final project for that class is we had to pick a we had to pick like basically like something to do. And basically what you did is you picked like a what was it? It was like we picked like we had to pick something and make it into a play. We picked the Wizard of Oz, and this other group of kids were really weird, eccentric kids, so they picked Sweeney Todd.
They picked a musical to turn into a play. That's cheating.
Yeah. They even
based on a play.
Yeah, they even did the song, like one of the songs.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Like that one episode of The Office.
Yeah, but these were like really eccentric theater kids, like really eccentric. Like we're talking like
we had some weirdos in our school.
Yeah, we had some really strange kids in our school. Like you have like normal theater like thespians, but then you had these kids. They were like next level shit. But ours was pretty funny because we took the Wizard of Oz and we made it more modern, and we had like the Wizard of Oz characters show like it was really creative actually. They were showing up to a red carpet event, and we had like modern day like depictions of like the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man. I played the Cowardly Lion. I was acting like I was all like I was no I was the Tin Man and this other guy was the Cowardly Lion because what happened was this guy was like walking up and he looked like Fat Joe and he was like looking around like acting all tough and somebody came up behind him and popped a balloon and he like freaked the fuck out, so he was like the Cowardly Lion. It was pretty funny. And then I basically played the Tin Man, and I talked about how I had a lot of heart, and then I started like just profusely like crying like on command. That was really hard, by the way. I had to like really practice that. And then all of a sudden, it ended up turning into the actual movie, and it was really bizarre.
Sounds pretty
very
bizarre.
meta.
Yeah, but it worked. And then the other kids, they did their little thing and they were singing about giving somebody a shave, which is from Sweeney Todd. And
I'm just gonna say it. Did anyone else find it weird that all of these like shows had like all these like long-standing TV shows like Oz, just not The Sopranos. The Sopranos was like the only one that didn't, but Oz, Grey's Anatomy, like all these long-running TV shows had a musical episode.
I mean, it's kind of the rite of passage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Oz had one, and it was weird.
Yeah, I guess that 70s show had one too, didn't they? They had a singing episode.
Yeah, it's just weird. It was like it was out of nowhere. It's like you knew that there was the musical episode. Like even in Glee had a musical episode.
Isn't Glee about singing?
Every episode was.
No. But this one was more singing, and I'm like, oh my god, can we stop? Like
Glee went a little off the rails. I remember that was like. That show was my shit when I was in high school. Yeah. I was like I was one of the choir kids. I wasn't a theater kid. I was a choir kid first.
Oh, okay.
And they had like the album episode. So it's like the Britney Spears episode, the Lady Gaga episode, the Michael Jackson episode. Like they had like those tributes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was cool. I mean, some of them are really well done. Others not so much, but
Yeah, there were some that it made you wonder. It's like, can we just not do this?
So I take it you don't like musicals very much. Not a big fan.
I like musicals, but it's just like when your whole show revolves around you singing and you add more singing somehow into it, it feels exhausting. It's like listening to Macho Man talk. You're thinking about how he feels, about the fact that he has to talk like that the rest of his life. Like...
Well, it's kind of like Gilbert Godfrey. That wasn't his real voice.
Oh, my God.
He died. He died recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Legend.
Yeah, and that wasn't his real voice. I was watching Howard Stern, and Howard Stern like played a recording of his real voice, and it freaked me the fuck out. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't like unhear this.
Right.
'cause
Also seeing him like not squint.
Yeah.
I think he did that when he was on like one of the many Comedy Central roasts.
Yeah.
He like dropped the voice and dropped like the face, and you're just like, oh my god, you look like you wouldn't recognize him walking down the street without that like squint and the teeth showing that he did. Like,
Yeah,
Oh God.
they literally had him talking. He's like, "Hey guys, this is Gilbert. I just wanted to let you know." And it's like, "What the fuck? Who is that? That's not Gilbert Godfrey."
Have you ever heard the College Humor thing where they had Gilbert Godfrey read 50 Shades of Grey in the voice?
I call it the Iago voice.
Yeah, the Iago voice.
yeah.
It's just, it was so disturbing to hear, but it was like, oh my God.
I feel
this
like
would
when
be
he
great.
auditioned for Iago, I feel like they were like, "Okay, Gilbert, can you take that annoying voice you got and can you just ramp it up to 100?" I could just pick.
Like, you're up against Robin Williams. You gotta do more.
You know what? Then the live action one, it would have been great if they gave the parrot his voice. Like they called them back as like, we need the voice again.
Well, they sort of did a little bit. I mean, it's not Gilbert doing the voice, but he was like, "All right, Jafar, I'm out of here." He like flies off.
But it would have been funnier if it's a live action with a
Look,
parrot having the voice.
I have a lot of issues with that movie. The biggest issue I have with that movie is Jafar is not funny.
No.
And that was the charm of the original one. Is that Jafar was
He's like campy.
yeah, he was like
Yeah.
he was campy and funny, but then they made him so serious in that movie. I'm like, damn, that was part of the charm of Jafar. Like Jafar is like this batshit crazy dude who like laughs a lot. They didn't even have him laugh. Like remember that maniacal laugh that Jafar had? Like I miss that. You know.
I even watched the new one. I didn't bother. It was just like, why? Because I grew up with those movies like Aladdin, Lion King, Hunchback. Those were like my like top 3 Disney movies of like the 90s.
Yeah.
And just like those live action ones, I didn't watch any of the new ones. I didn't watch the new Lion King.
Did you watch?
Aladdin.
Did you ever watch Return of Jafar?
I had that on VHS. Of course I did.
I love that
Prince of
movie.
The
Thieves.
straight to VHS movie.
Dude, it's so funny.
is.
Literally, Genie's sitting there having like a picnic, and these ants come up and eat his picnic, and like Jafar just comes out of nowhere and goes, "Sorry to ruin your picnic, boys."
Oh God.
It's so funny. But you know, I was actually studying this, and a lot of Disney there's a theory that a lot of Disney villains are mirrored after gay icons. And
absolutely.
And I did not realize that until like somebody mentioned it, because Scar was very gay. Ursula is apparently based off of a drag star from like
A drag queen. Yeah.
drag queen from the 20th century, and then obviously Jafar. I mean, you know, it's like crazy.
I wonder who Jafar was based off of.
I don't know.
Like, I wonder if like this theory comes out and they start like showing the actors that actually represented these characters. Be kind of cool to see.
Yeah. Well, the theory is the reason why they would do that though is because it's like this subconscious thing from back in the day. Like being gay was considered bad.
It was illegal.
It was bad. Like this is what you don't strive to be. But they kind of fucked up because we ended up falling in love with these characters. Like I always,
you gave them the best songs.
yeah, honestly,
Fortunate Souls. Are you kidding me?
yeah,
Best song in the movie.
I ended up loving the Disney villains more than I like the actual heroes. Like Gaston, obviously a butch gay guy. I mean, obviously.
Very closeting gay man.
Yeah. Because that's what he was looking for.
It's funny with Jafar. You're like, he wants to marry. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. Like, he wants Aladdin to himself. He wants Prince Abubu or whatever he called him.
I don't want Princess Jasmine, but because of things right now, let's just put it this way: I'm gonna cast a spell on you, and we're gonna see where it goes.
It'd be really funny. It'd be really funny if they were like it shows like an alternate ending where Jafar wins, and Jasmine's kind of sitting there with her arms crossed. She's like, "Jafar, you haven't had sex with me," and he goes
I'll get to it.
Like, I'll get to it eventually. And she's like, "And you've been hanging out
really drunk first."
And she's like, "You've been hanging out with that chamber boy that like takes care of the."
Leave me alone, woman. I'm doing wizard things.
He's not a wizard. He's a sorcerer.
I'm doing sorcery.
Yes.
He had a dungeon to himself, so we can only imagine what happened in there.
It's true. Oh boy. Yeah, Disney had some really deep-seated shit going on back then.
Yeah, they like Gaston. I always thought the Gaston thing was really a really cool choice because you have the Disney villain being the guy that's supposed to be like
The good guy.
the good guy, the hero.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that was such a cool like twist that they did in that movie. I always liked that.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite things.
He was just a douche.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Who couldn't read? He's like, there's no pictures in these books, Bill.
It's like the guy who's definitely named Biff.
Well, they can't call him Biff back then, but yeah, Biff, but he is Biff. Yeah.
He's just like this big dumb dude.
Yeah, like when he ate when he eats all those eggs, he just like throws them up in the air and just like eats them whole.
He didn't even like take off the shell. He's just expecting that his stomach's gonna break him down. But yeah, he doesn't know any better. He's dumb.
So let me ask you this: do you do any short films? Have you done any short films or anything?
I did a couple in 2018. There was like this at the time was a really popular Facebook group for actors, and they had like monthly short film challenges. You had like 72 hours to write, shoot, all that stuff, and then when you would submit it, and then they would have like a big screening and all that stuff, which was really cool. And I got to do like two that happened to like two within a month, which was really cool because like for one of them I played like this like leather jacket, sunglasses wearing bad boy, totally against my type because all I play are like on Blindspot I played an FBI lab tech, like I played the nerdy characters.
Yeah.
So like because I'm a giant nerd, so that's it fits. Not being stereotyped, it's just me. So getting to play like a character like that was really fun because in short films they'll take a bigger risk on you because there's not a lot at stake. There's not millions of dollars at stake, so they'll take a risk. It ended up being really fun. It was really cool shoot, and it's just sort of cool seeing what low budget filmmaking is like, and just sort of like renting one space for 2 days and just filming everything as much as you can. It's like a crash course, it was cool.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I enjoy shooting short films too. It just it really depends on it's all about trying to make like a good engaging story that's told in like 5 minutes. That's the thing. A lot of people, you can't really make like a big long crazy story. It's like taking the part of a story, like a snippet of a story, and telling it in 5 minutes. That's why I always tell people like a short film is. It's a really good solid like part of a story. That's why a lot of people take like a short film and adapt it into like a feature a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because that's a good way to do that.
Something I love that did that was that show Love, Sex, and Robots on Netflix.
It's a good
They
show.
take little.
Oh, great show.
I love it, but I wish some of those things would be expanded upon because like the one where the Russians are hunting those demons in the woods. Yeah. I feel like that would be a great show.
So that's my biggest. I'm a huge fan of anthology sci-fi series. Like I love Black Mirror, like more modern stuff like Black Mirror. I love Electric Dreams, a couple of other ones. Old school, I like The Outer Limits from the 90s. Really good show. I also really like I love the Stargate show from the 90s. Really good show. You just don't really see like a ton of like hard sci-fi anymore. A lot of times they do like what I call like on your sleeve sci-fi, where it's like it's a hardcore like drama with a slight bit of sci-fi. I love seeing like really hard sci-fis. I think that's why I like Black Mirror so much because it's like the only show I've seen in recent years that's been very hard sci-fi.
Yeah, so. The really high concept stuff. Because you're right. Sort of thinking of like the newer Twilight Zone. It was an anthology. Some of the stuff was a little out there, but like
not hard.
It wasn't
not hard.
really. Yeah, not at all. And that high concept stuff is sort of what leaves like the bigger impression. I mean, American Horror Story did a spin-off that was exclusive for Hulu called American Horror Stories, and each episode was a different story entirely. So instead of what they usually do season to season, it was episode to episode. It was a different story, different cast. And it was, some episodes were better than others. Some were really cool. Others were kind of forgetful. But that was a cool like sort of concept to do, like sort of a horror type of anthology, because a lot of times it is sci-fi and it's not necessarily horror.
Yeah.
I really love that show though. Like I really love season 3 of American Horror Story.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
Coven.
Yeah,
That one was dope.
that one was great.
I'm glad you like stuff like that. I like horror, but I don't like it as much as I like sci-fi. So anytime there's a really hard sci-fi show that comes out, I try to watch it. And they're talking about bringing back The Outer Limits, like sort of like rebooting it. So if that's the case, it'll be really good. It'll be like really hard sci-fi.
There's another good one that I can't even remember the name of it to save the life of me, but apparently they use a lot of actual like science behind it to describe space travel and everything.
The Expanse?
Yeah, that one. That one's a pretty good one too.
I've heard it was really good. It looks cool. I haven't seen it, but like the graphics and stuff are really cool.
They say it's like the most realistic like sci-fi show ever made. Like they get the science like pretty right, which is pretty cool. I like to hear stuff like that. And I heard there's like a really big twist like towards the last couple of seasons, like something about them encountering like extraterrestrial life or something like that. So should be pretty cool. I might check it out one day because I know it just went off the air recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, finally like reached its like final season.
Okay.
And I gave up on The Walking Dead like after season 3. So
I read the
the second
novels.
with The Walking Dead that they stopped, there were villains beyond just zombies. I was like, I'm out. I don't care about tales of human trial. I mean, God, fine. There's enough of that. I don't.
I think what I like about The Walking Dead is because it doesn't have the fast-paced zombies, so it doesn't turn the zombie movie into an action thriller. It's more of a like the real thing I've noticed when it comes to the real bad guys in zombie movies. When they're the slow-moving zombies, it's not the threat is always going to be like the zombie apocalypse itself, but it's like really focusing on the characters and all the problems that they are facing with the apocalypse. And then there's the other people in the apocalypse you have to worry about, like all the other strangers that you encounter, because you don't know if they're friend or foes because society has collapsed, and you're wondering like, do they still engage in the same behaviors of when society was around, or are they gonna kill us and eat us like that one group in The Walking Dead that was just eating people?
yeah.
Oh boy.
It's like it goes that extreme, but I think that's what I like about The Walking Dead, because it brings that out just a little more. But at the same time, like any show, you just kind of get bored.
Yeah. Makes sense.
The graphic novels, though, are great, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they made so many spin-offs of The Walking Dead. There's like 2 spin-offs. There's Fear the Walking Dead, and then Walking Dead World Beyond or something. And there's they're actually doing another one, which is crazy. It's like they end one and they've got all these other shows going on. It's like Law and Order. They had the original, and then they did a bunch of spin-offs, and the original left, and the spin-offs are still on. But they're doing an anthology one. So it's like episode to episode, sort of different tales throughout the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. He's talking about the one where that's going to show like origins for a lot of the different characters. It's gonna go into detail a little bit.
Okay, that should be interesting.
Yeah, it should be. I know I've been working on a TV show for about 4 years now. It's going to be like a campy like show, kind of like you ever seen what's that show called? Twin Peaks. You ever seen Twin Peaks?
I did, but like the reboot or the revival.
So
I didn't see the original.
And there's another show called Erie, Indiana. You ever heard of it? It's from the 90s. So it's going to be a combination of those 2 shows, but like more comedy, basically. So it's going to be like a show set in North Georgia where it's going to be like just a bunch of fucked up shit happens in this town. Like the town's been irradiated by nuclear waste, but then it's also on top of an Indian burial ground. It's going to be like all the tropes you see in like horror and sci-fi where so many bad things have happened to this. So much shit's happened that like crazy shit happens in this town all the time. But we call it the name of the show is Jokewood, basically.
Jokewood? That's funny.
Yeah, and we've already written enough like material. Like, we haven't written scripts. We've written like a story bible that would cover like 5 seasons worth of content. So we've been developing it for a long time.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, we just don't know if we want it to be a 30-minute show or like a hour-long show. Because hour-long shows are, God, it's so much work.
I mean, it makes sense.
Especially when it's like more comedic. It's hard to sort of draw its storylines more than half an hour.
Yeah, I'd probably do like a 22 page script for each episode, so that way you have like enough in between for commercials. Then you have like a 30-minute show.
Well, Cobra Kai does a 30-minute show, and it feels like an hour-long show, just in terms of how much content is packed in there.
But then the 15-minute shows are getting popular now.
That's true.
People like those. That's always been popular on Adult Swim. They love having those little 15-minute blocks for shows sometimes.
Yeah.
So
people like that sort of like bite-sized content. It's way more popular than it was a while ago, I feel. Especially when, rest in peace, Quibi. But Quibi tried to do those sort of 10-minute episodes. They ended up going under because people just did not want to pay for that. But,
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I also saw on your profile that you're a part of the LGBTQ community as well up there in New York. The community down here is really big, especially in Midtown where I live. It's huge. Like I think we're pretty much tied with San Francisco in terms of like.
I thought we beat San Francisco.
Maybe we are beating San Francisco. I don't know. But me and him are in the community too. We're both bisexual, so.
Nice. Me too. Wow. Bye, bros. Look at us.
So, no. Yeah, I just most people don't ever know that I'm that way. I just don't like blast it out there for everybody to hear. So.
Right. Yeah.
It just doesn't break. It just doesn't come up in conversation until it does.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
And that
Yeah, most people know.
People assume that because I have a boyfriend that I'm gay, and I'm like, I'm bi. Like, let's not make assumptions.
Yeah. But, is your boyfriend bi or is he gay or what?
He's bi. Yeah.
Bi. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Are y'all closed relationship, open relationship?
We are. What is it called? We're discovering all this new terminology.
You have polyamory and monogamy. Those are like the two.
Yeah.
Or they have another one called flexible. Flexible means that. See, I've learned a lot in terminology too. Flexible basically means you're open to either monogamy or polyamory. So. Yeah.
So there's, I think, what we're sort of going for is it's called ethical non-monogamy.
Okay.
Interesting.
Wait, there's an app called Field. It's FEELD.
I've seen that app before.
Yeah, and it has like a very, very great like breakdown of what, because a lot of times people just can't define what it is that they're looking for. So it's just like, well, here's a whole fucking glossary of terms you can use. Yep. And so so it's we're committed to each other. Occasional visits with a third individual, and that's about it. But we were open for a little bit, and then right before the pandemic, I think, like right before the new year. And just wasn't really for me personally. I'm a pretty shy person. Meeting other people on that level is a little difficult. That's why I started podcasting. I'm like, well, I can just talk to people this way and just interview them and do that. But yeah, it's it's all a huge spectrum. Obviously, you guys know. Sort of discovering what it is that you want in life and in a relationship, and from other people and from yourself. Yeah,
it's very true.
It's a journey.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I feel that it's self-discovery is a very interesting road to travel.
Yeah. It's like something it's like I kind of figured it out when I was in high school, but didn't really think about it too much, and then I kind of figured it out that actually I think I realized it more when I was in the military. That's how I was. Just hanging out with a bunch of dudes all the time.
Yeah, my first.
You're like, I don't mind this. I'm digging it.
This is pretty cool, but can you guys put your dicks away in the shower? I've seen way too many penises, man.
Yeah, my first sexual experience was actually with a guy. I wasn't with a woman. So, and I mostly date women a lot of times, And when I tell women that, they're like, oh, like they never expect that. And I'm just like, that's just the way it happened, I guess. I don't know.
I'm married to a woman.
Timeline sorted itself.
Yep.
So it's like I got weird questions when we went to a drag show in North Carolina. No. There was one guy who was hitting on us, but he was a little bit pushy, and it got weird because he was predatory. He was trying to sleep with me and my wife, and we were just like, no, that's not how this works for us. We're monogamous.
Right.
and he kept getting really weird. It was predatory, but everyone else was like cool with it because we did get a few advances from other people at the club. But like I said, it's like when you said like, oh no, that's we're monogamous. They're like, oh okay, that's nice, and then just friendly conversations from then on. I think that was the only time I ever had a bad experience with someone else was when they got predatory.
And it's a shame when that happens because people just don't know where to like. They're not just like read the room, just like sort of take the hint, like they're saying no. And for some people, they're just like, well, everyone's a little open or whatever, or they assume that everyone is just because you're queer or somewhere on the LGBTQ plus spectrum that you're sort of like DTF. You're different in any way. Like,
I mean,
it's so frustrating.
It happened to me this past weekend. I met these really cool people, and they were talking to me this past weekend about about wanting to like do stuff with me, and I just kept trying to like say, hey, I'm not into that at the moment. Like basically right now I'm kind of in an asexual kind of state. I just don't feel like doing anything. And I kept telling him, he's like, well, I bet I can get you hard. Like if I take you over here right now, I'm like, I'm sure you could, maybe, but I'm not feeling that right now, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I don't I don't need an example. Yeah. So. Some people just don't know where to. They don't see the line that's been drawn in the sand, and it's annoying because people who just can't take a hint. When me and my boyfriend we went to Providence last June for my birthday, and it was like the weekend after their Pride. It's a small but very lovely queer community that they have there, and just some people just can't take the fucking hint. Like just this guy kept saying like, yeah, like I'm straight, man, but just you're really handsome, you're really good looking. But yeah, I'm totally straight. I'm like, all right, pal, who do you got to convince here? Yourself or me?
It's like, have you
seen a little wasted and a little handsy? So
it's like, are you? Do you see where you are right now?
I'm like, it was like, oh, I'm an ally. I'm like, that's great, but you're making me very uncomfortable right now. Like, come on.
Yeah.
One of the biggest pet peeves me and him have is when people speak for other people in the community. A lot of times.
Yep.
And it's really annoying. Because people are sometimes people these days do way too much, to try to, we call it like.
Virtue signaling.
Yeah, virtue signal is what we call it. Yeah, it's just where people want to be a part of something, so they take it to the extreme because they're trying to defend people, but what they don't realize is people can defend themselves when they need to.
Right.
Yeah. And I hate seeing like misrepresentation going on too much. It's annoying.
Yeah.
So.
It's like I've never had problems when I did tell my friends when I was in the military and everything. Everyone was like, cool. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like doesn't even register like as a right. thing with them. So it's like that actually felt a little bit more open. And sometimes what I've noticed out here is when it comes up in conversation, people will say sort of rude, like semi-rude things like, well, I wouldn't have suspected you to be that way. It's like, oh, well, was I supposed to have a sign or something and broadcast
right.
it? And it's like, it's one of those things that's like it's really annoying because it's like, it's a kind of an inappropriate thing to say.
I mean, right. The biggest backlash I've ever gotten is from like white women a lot of times, like really liberal white women. They're like for instance, me and him went to a bar one time and it was like a filmmaking event. And this girl was telling us this story. Like we were just listening to her pitch her movie idea to us, and the movie idea was bad because she was saying, well, I got this idea for this zombie movie, and what happens is everybody's infected and they don't realize it. And this friend of mine raises his hand and he's like, yo, that's The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh. She's like, I've never seen that show. And he goes, I'm going to make you a list of like movies and TV shows you need to watch before you write this zombie thing. Cause
right.
he was like, a lot of the things you mentioned are very like
on The Walking Dead,
and like a little bit of some George A. Romero movies too. And then out of nowhere, I was like, well, I guess I'll talk about my movie. And I've had this idea for this movie for literally like 2 years. But basically I wanted to tell a story about growing up in North Georgia because nobody's really told that story. And what people don't know about North Georgia is a very diverse place. There's a lot of people here from all over the place, where I grew up.
Yeah, Georgia's pretty diverse.
Yeah, it's a very diverse state. A lot of people come here and move to Georgia because, we have a huge airport. People love, it's like easy access and stuff. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I started talking about it a little bit, and I literally only got 2 sentences out, and this girl looks at me and goes, "Ooh, another story from a straight white man." That's exactly what we all want to hear. And then she looks at this girl and starts laughing and goes, "Am I right?" And this girl goes, and like literally like kind of.
A lot of people were very uncomfortable.
Yeah, so there was a group of black guys behind me. They just stood up and left. Didn't even say a word. They just got up and left. And
was it a white girl that said this?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, honey, you don't have to be mad for the rest of us brown people. Thank you. We'll take it from here.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know, everybody was uncomfortable, and I kind of looked at her and I go, who the fuck are you? You don't even know what my story's about. How do you know that my story is just about me? It could be about a lot of things.
Yeah.
You don't even know. You didn't even let me get 2 sentences out. You know what she did? She took her chair and she spun it around and put her back to me.
It's very rude. And then
it was incredibly rude. It was the rudest shit I've ever seen in my life. And as we were leaving, I looked at her. I was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm not fucking straight, bitch. Fuck you."
Damn. I must have
like
missed
what
that.
she said is something you tweet or you mumble to yourself or say to your table. Like,
Well,
you don't say that to the room. Like, that's so dumb.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd tweet it. That's out there forever.
it was just bad.
People
though.
tweet some dumb shit. So
well, it was bad. It was bad because like the guy that runs the whole thing, he said I gotta go. Like, cause he didn't want to see it either. Like it made him uncomfortable too because like the thing about the film community here down in Atlanta, it's a very inclusive, open-minded place where a lot of people feel comfortable to talk. And for her to say something like that, and for all these other different types of people to leave, that means that they're not okay with it either, But she wasn't from here, though. She had recently just moved here from Portland, Oregon.
And a small town out in Portland, so...
She was like on the outskirts.
Outskirts. Yeah. But Portland's a very white state. Like people, like there's not a lot of. It's not a very diverse area.
I've never been to Portland, or I've never been to Oregon for that matter. So I wouldn't know.
There's like
it's funny. Portland is what everyone thinks Brooklyn is. Everyone thinks Brooklyn is like white and gentrified and hipster. No, that's Portland.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of the me and my boyfriend stand out like sore thumbs where we live because it is a very dense immigrant population. It's a lot of like Caribbean, Dominican, like Haitian, Jamaican. Those are like kind of make them the main makeup. There's some Latinos like me, but mostly if they're usually like Dominican, Cuban, or like Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
My parents are from El Salvador, so they're from Central America. So it's just kind of like different culture.
Yeah, the girl.
It's just
the girl I was dating, she's Puerto Rican, so. But she was very Americanized though. She didn't really I don't know. She doesn't even know how to speak Spanish. So
my wife knows how to.
She completely forgot how to she said she knew how to do it a little bit when she was younger, but she just kind of forgot it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That was pretty ingrained in me. My parents wanted to make sure that we were bilingual. They didn't know English to teach us, so we didn't learn until we started school at like 4 or 5. And then, but again, going to like a Spanish church, we kind of had Spanish in the house, obviously, kind of I'm losing my words here. It just the language stayed, but like now because I work from home and I don't talk with anyone in Spanish regularly, I like just read the news in Spanish out loud, so just like keep the language because because especially so many times like last year during pilot season, I had like 4 or 5 pretty great size auditions, but they were for all like Hispanic characters who are either immigrants or had to speak Spanish. So I'm like, I need to like stay on top of this, like because I just didn't want to lose it and then be like the Hispanic actor who they're trying to like get for the job who doesn't speak Spanish or at least do an accent or have a familiarity. I didn't want to lose it because
Well, I mean, it's like with my family. My in-laws are from Colombia, and then my wife was born in New York, so I was in Queens, New York, of all places too, and and my wife knows Spanish, but at times she realizes that same thing. Like she feels like she's starting to like lose it here and there, but then we go to family get-togethers and everyone's speaking Spanish, and I'm just kind of sitting there in the back like, all right, I got to absorb as much of this as I can, and I don't speak it, but I started understanding it more and more because I'm just surrounded by that environment. And actually, I really kind of feel bad sometimes because it's like I want to make a bigger effort to learn just because I feel like I'm missing out on a lot because I don't have that, because I don't speak it.
Yeah, when I was in college, I took Russian because my girlfriend that I lived with was Russian. So, and Russian is fucking...
Do you remember anything?
Few phrases. That's it. It's hard. Russian is a very hard language, man. It's a combination of Greek and Roman.
I used to speak Greek until I moved away from Montreal. That was going to be my secondary language. But we don't have any Greeks. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't imagine there's a pretty dense Greek population in Georgia. It's in Ring as a very Greek area.
Honestly, the best language to learn here besides Spanish would probably be Korean. We have a huge Korean population.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Korean and Vietnamese.
Yeah, we have a huge Korean population. You go over here to a place called Duluth, it's like 80% Korean.
Yeah, honestly, just learning Asian languages in general would probably help you out a lot in that area because it's a very big Asian community out there.
That makes sense. Well, we're at the top of the hour. We got about 3 minutes left. So I think this has been a very good talk.
Very eventful.
Yeah, this week was definitely better than last week in terms of like guest. What we're saying is you're a really great guest.
Yes.
So. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It was a lot
Thank
of
you
fun.
guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, people can check out my podcast. It's called Actors with Issues. It's exactly what it sounds like. I interview a bunch of actors who have booked more work than me, and just talk about the issues, obstacles that they've dealt with and overcome, and have had some really, really cool guests in the last couple of weeks, just because I've been doing the show for 2 years now, so I've sort of built up my contacts and all that stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, they can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We started a YouTube channel back in January, so all the video interviews are up there.
Okay.
And
Nice.
yeah, we got some cool guests coming up. We just had our interview with Raul Esparza, who was on Law & Order, and Hannibal, and
Nice.
one of the actors from Sons of Anarchy, Theo Ross. He was on Luke Cage as well on Netflix. And some pretty cool guys.
I'm trying to remember who Theo Ross is.
Yeah, I'm gonna send your link to a bunch of actors down here. I'm sure they would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Because a lot of the actors down here could probably tell you some experiences working on Marvel sets. So.
Yeah. Sweet. Awesome.
So. But yeah, thanks for checking out the podcast. This is www.dumbcoolweird.com. We have great merch that you need to check out. Go to our YouTube channel, like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you get notified about our new crap that's coming out all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's good stuff. We love it. We love you guys. And also check out our link tree where it has the ability, where you have the ability to go see our audio, well, not see, but listen to our audio podcast.
Listen to them words.
Yeah, listen to them words. And you can check out all of our social media there as well. And you can figure out how you can donate and keep us living because, we're on life support.
Yeah. Slowly dying. No OnlyFans.
Yeah, we quit doing our OnlyFans, so we kind of have to find a new way to make money here. But thank you, Juan, for coming out and talking to us. We will be sure to, and guys, be sure to check out the description to see all of his links as well. We're going to have that down there as well. So go ahead and sign us off, Nick.
Stay sexy, Atlanta.
Thanks for checking out the Dumb Cool Weird podcast. Go to our website, www.dumbcoolweird.com, to check out our merch and all our social media links. If you want to check out how to support us and our audio podcasts only and an access to our website and all of our other links for our social media, go to linktree.com, which has Dumb Cool Weird podcast. The link is up below. Hope you guys will check us out. We have new content coming out every single Monday. We have new content coming out every single day. Check it for 9 a.m. Clips, reactions, whatever. We got it coming for you. Hope you come out, check it out. Stay sexy, Atlanta, and keep watching our crap.